My name is Wetso. I'm a senior researcher here at Dalarna University. I'm very interested in learning and complicated learning. This school project, research project, started for 2.5 years ago because a school leader came up to me and asked, can we do something together? We want to start a one-to-one project. A one-to-one project, that means each teacher and each student got a computer. So, yes. Thanks. For 20 years, we have had computers in the Swedish classrooms. The computer as a learning tool is not something we can take for granted. The implementation process is very slow. And following up evaluation shows that the computer, the children, 4 or 5 children use the computer and to share the computers in primary school, and 1 to 3 students share the computer in secondary school. That's the situation today in Sweden. And the computers are still most used for writing text and searching facts. Yes. This picture shows you the situation today. Many teachers felt it's hard to work in school. Yes. During the last 2 years, the Swedish education has gone through a radical change. The top-down measures is clear. The results must be better. More students must pass the exam. So this is a metaphor for the situation in school. Yeah. I got a question from the school leaders in a community to do something together. In the project, there is a primary school and a secondary school. And we start to discuss what can we do together. Can we make up a kind of concept with research and work and education? And the technical team in the community was engaged, the school leaders was engaged, and some of the researchers from Dalarna University. The big idea of the project was, can we help the teachers to manage this implementation of the computer as a learning tool? So we make a concept with education. It contains ECT, learning, special education, inclusive education, and handling measures program. You can see the aim here. The aim for me as a researcher was to follow the education course. I was involved in the concept of the course, and also to follow the practice, the working practice, what happened in the classrooms. Here you can see I use activity theory as a framework. And in activity theory, the three components, you follow the individuals, you look at the environment, and you look at activities and the relation between these three components. And for describing the work, I used Engström's 4 questions. Who are the learning subjects? Why should they learn? What do they learn? And how they learn? Yes. Here you can see a picture of the selected participants. You have the small town group. It was group A, B, and C with teachers and children from a small school. You can see on the table we have group A, B, and C, children from grade A, 4, and 8. And in big town school, secondary school, we had children in first year at the education. I call it big town because it was in a big town and the school was a big school. Yeah. But it was quite different between these because in small town almost all teachers took part, and you can see in big town it was just a few teachers that took part in this education program and concept. Yeah. Here you can see the teachers to the left, and this presentation is most about the teacher situation and the work with the teachers. In another paper in this conference, I also presented the implementation work with the children. So you can read about that if you're interested. But the intervention was about the education and to handle the computer as a learning tool. During the research work, I have done observations in the classrooms, a lot of observations. I've done interviews with the teachers. I've read teachers' logs, because all teachers have written logs during the process. And I was also involved in creating the course, the content, the tasks in the course, because we want the tasks to be able to support the teachers in the working process with the computers, try to stimulate the teachers. And the teachers themselves collected data and analyzed this data, and they reflect over their own material together with me and together with the other teachers. So that's kind of action research, the circle around, you pick up data, you are involved, work with the whole thing, and then reflect over what is happening. Can we do something better? Can we change the conditions, and what can we do together? So, yeah. And the results show us that if the teacher got the opportunity to read, discuss, and work with the pedagogical issues as a parallel process to the work in practice, the implementing process was possible, And the computer could be a learning tool. Sometimes the computer is just a tool for learning, but if it's going to be a learning tool, for me it's a difference in this. You must work with it and discuss the consequences and effects of what you are doing. We could see that the implementation process was shorter than in other projects. I read about other one-to-one projects, and it took a long time for the teachers to implement the computer in the work, perhaps 3 years or so. Here we could see after just 1 year it was more implemented. And we could also see from the beginning the teacher was very stressed up about the situation to handle all the new learning for themselves and that learning with the children. But the second year the teacher was much more relaxed in the classroom situation and then told me about it. And I could also see it in their actions when I observed them in practice. So it was very nice, interesting. And the teachers started to create a more inclusive environment for learning. Yeah. In my paper, I have written about these 6 different angles. It's very complex. It's a real challenge for me to describe the work and what's happened in so many things, activities, components involved in this complex research. But I sought the results out of these 6 angles. And here I can just give you some short reflections about each part. In small town, the head teacher took part in the education. I think that affected and motivated the teachers. And almost all teachers took part in the education. At the big town school, the head teacher did not take part in the education, was not so involved in the practical work. And at the big town school, it was just 4 teachers. They was a little bit isolated in the school. Yeah. After the education program, it took 1.5 years to get through the education program. 22 teachers, 19 finished the 3 parts of the education program. 2 finished 2 parts, and 1 teacher decided not to take part. So that's positive. I could say something more there. Yes, part 2 here. The teachers have done a lot of observations in the classroom, and they have been critical friends to each other. And they have looked at their own leader side and discussed their experience from the classroom. And they help each other to be a better teacher. The teachers start to change in practice. They create a more inclusive environment. I mean, like this, from start. A special teacher took care of the special children in a special room with the special resources, with special computers. The computers had special resources. Can you think that? Yes, I see some. Yeah, very special. Everything is very special. Yeah. But during this time, the teachers start to reflect over the situation. Could we do something in another way? Can we create a more inclusive education? And they start to reconstruct the way they use the resources, themselves as resources and the technical resources. And all children got support in the classroom. All computers had the special resources. All teachers discussed the challenge to create a more inclusive education environment. From the beginning of this work, I can tell you the teacher was most interested to go for the ECT education. Not so interested in special education. They asked me, why should we read about special education? But then afterwards, she told me this was the thing. We must discuss the pedagogical issues and reflect over the situation and the needs in the classroom. And the teacher started to encourage the children to make use of the resources in the computers. Another condition that changed was that in small town, in group A and B, the groups had home classrooms, but group C and D, it's not so common that all the children have home classrooms. They have different subjects and they move from room to room and they have the computer with them. It was hard and difficult. It took a lot of time. Then they decided to have their own home classroom. And it was much more better. Går du vidare? You can take next, because I already told them about this. And here is a table over. I've used the activity theory to show the change. And I already told you about this, but you can read afterwards more precisely about this. I could see it was some difference between the teachers. Some multi-active teachers, I call them, was more positive for the change. And some teachers was more distant, uninterested, and it was harder to work with implementation. And they thought it was the children's problem if they don't want to learn and if they don't handle the computer well and so on. And here you can see some components for the multi-active, the positive teachers. It's a lot of things here. They could work with variation, flexibility, dialogue. They like multi-learning. They like working together. I can't read up all this, but you can read it later. Yeah. Oh, beautiful picture. Sweden winter picture. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.